Chill here with Sirius Talis Moon. And yes, you probably noticed the weird language. Um, this is probably the earthquake that was trying to see if this is that earthquake. That was 1927, older than our country. And this was before, I think before during the ingress of Aries to Aries. So that would be Aries at the end of Pisces. So that was a big earthquake. And there is a big earthquake in the region of the Dead Sea. It's kind of like the axis, okay, from the Galilee Sea, from the up to the Red Sea. Call it the Syrian African crack, basically, of fracture. And this is where every 100 years or so there's an earthquake, and the last one has been about 100 years or so. So there were one in 1837, one in 1927, and we are about to be in 2026, 2027. There is going to be, I think, a 6-minute eclipse, full solar eclipse. It's going to be visible in 2027, August. Doesn't mean that there is where the earthquake will be. Um, but that has been a thing. Yesterday there was an earthquake that was felt, they say, in entire Israel. They say. Now here's the thing with earthquakes. There was quite an impressive earthquake when I was a couple of months old, and our parents lived in the 4th floor, and we had a neighbor a floor beneath. And my mother was thinking to jump with me from the 4th floor, which would result in practically injury of my mom. And then she went to the neighbor, and the neighbor asked, "What earthquake?" So that earthquake was at noon. Now, to be very honest, Amber, it's a topic that has accompanied my life for quite some time. Usually not because I'm too worried about that. Um, but this was something that just came up. And I wondered if that was why I was awakened and somebody was just cursing me. Maybe somebody was saying a curse in Arabic, like "Kusalay mashlach," and I felt it as curse in my eyes. Because I don't have a translation for that, okay? It's basically, it's not a if that was the case, maybe they felt the quake, I have no idea. Because I woke up in like, what, 12 p.m., 12 a.m., and Israel is not prepared for the big earthquake. This is true. um, Ooh, no, no, it's 60. It's not Saturn. I don't know, maybe it's something else. So there was. I know there was a big one in Cyprus. Um, yeah, it shows northern Israel and also South Sinai, what we would call Eilat, and this would be around the Dead Sea, Jerusalem, all the way to Jerusalem. No, I'm not gonna put that in. Not during a world war. It's not good to do it in too much of approximation. um, but this is kind of nicely set in between the Dead Sea and the Northern Sea. Um, so that would probably be on the way to Jerusalem, if not Jerusalem. This was, so the magnitude 6 was in magnitude 5 was in Cyprus, magnitude 4 was around Cyprus and around the Red Sea, and magnitude 2 to 3 was not a big magnitude. It's not 11 or something. Okay, usually it goes up to like 7, 8, but there were things that were megalithic. And that kind of reminds us that we're about 100 years is about to be due, which means that it's highly unlikely that by 2027 we're not going to have an earthquake, which means that there could be another reason for houses to be and real estate to be, you know, crashing into itself. And yeah, nobody is at all ready for that. Most of the houses won't sustain. I'm not too far from from, from the Dead Sea. Um, and Israel was too busy using a lot of budget to create a lot of wars. And not so busy in sustaining the housing. Um, so we're probably going to look like Gaza. Um, yeah. And naturally, they did not even prepare housing or temporary housing in such case. You see, this is the real risk that we actually have in the Middle East. And nobody cares about preventing it. This is the African. Now here's the thing, 2027 we have a megalithic eclipse in August. And this is something that, I grew up in Israel. It's something that we grew up to. Usually we would go to the shelters for an earthquake drill. And yeah, that thing was not too big. For Cyprus it was big. For us not so much, but this could be a pre-shock. And a couple of months ago, there was also an earthquake. This one I did feel. I was in my bed. Now, I told you the funny story, I think, because when they did the curses, it was looking like objects are shaking in my hand, and I had to hold them and make that shaking stop and the shaking tried to rape me. Like, I have no idea what dumb fuckery they did. Like, it was something that I really, coming from academia, I never, ever, ever thought. I don't even know what is the ontological unit of reason. Anyway, everything was shaking, and I had to stop the shaking of everything, and it had rapey energy. So I was in my bed, and then the bed was shaking. I was like, "What are they doing?" And and then that was actually an earthquake. So it was the first time in my life that I actually felt an earthquake. It was strong. It felt like the earth is angry. It was this angry energy. So it can be that I was waking up today because somebody cursed me in my mother to wake the fuck up because of the earthquakes. and I just woke up with a very very weird. And I'm like, what? And then in the morning, after I recorded several videos, quite good videos, then my mom said it was an earthquake. Yesterday there was also, it could be a couple of, there were two earthquakes, one in the morning, at noon. My mom said there was one in the evening. I can't find when was the evening one. Because this was 17 hours ago. Those can be pre-shocks. Now, if it was at night, then I would not see it yet. Those can be pre-shocks. Okay, because twice the same day, and probably that person who looked into earthquake and became a warlock wanted to warn me, because they would feel earthquakes. And no, it was very terrible, because they had family in Ukraine, and they were born in Dnipropetrovsk, where the entire Ukraine war broke out. And I was like, they probably don't want to hear of me, they probably don't want to see me. And I was afraid to contact them, because there was this ritual that they were getting them to partake in. So I did not know how to defend myself from the rituals. I could really complete block that I couldn't even contact them. And now there's there could be a megalithic earthquake. Um, so, but the thing is that it was felt there was also something in the Red Sea. So the conjoining of the two is giving, and Saturn Neptune are going to meet in 2026 on Valentine's Day. They're going to meet in the 7th house of Israel. So it's like people might see it as invasion o'clock, which is kind of beyond creepy, but then again, the Israeli regime was becoming a bit creepy as well. They passed a law to kill all people that are considered terrorists, and you know that, first of all, if somebody was coming to do a bombing and a security person would need to stop that bombing, they would shoot to them anyway. Like, they would probably not survive that bombing, or they would be wounded in a hospital. So death penalty here is probably not to those terrorists. That's the Ben Gvir that was a persona non grata in Netherlands. And um, so there can be like a megalithic earthquake quite soon, because that looks like pre-shocks. Now let's see if there was anything. Okay, I'll just press on that. No, there was another one. The last ones. Just press on that. That's in the north. That's not really. Oh, it's in Lebanon. What's that? 11th to. We're in November 13 now. 11th is the month. Can we see the actual? 11th. 11/11. No. I'll just download this one. Yes, מרגישים. So, I'm recording. Let's see if it's downloading. CSV. I don't. Open Sesame. What happened? I don't know. So, there's this one. Oh, this one is from yesterday. מאמי הייתה רעידה אתמול בלילה? מאם? doesn't want to be bothered. uh, okay, so I don't know if there was one yesterday too, um, but that looks like pre-shocks. Um, let's look at the charts. Uranus is going to approach the sun of Israel, and it's in the sign of fixed Earth, and Uranus moves fixed Earth. So, um, the closest cycle to 100 years is indeed the cycle of Uranus doing its 84-year cycle with the retrogrades. And of course, Saturn Neptune on the border, on the 7th house of Israel, which is 7th house is also, if you think about the country, so the country is, that would be opposite to the country. In that case, it's Jordan. So that can absolutely be an earthquake. It's like, we're planning an invasion, it's going to be really funny. Because it's gonna happen together. um, Now, here's the thing. I don't know why. What arises is when I escaped the apartment where they did rituals, they slaughtered a cat in my bedroom and made the heart shape of his blood. Um, I don't know why this one came up. And very likely they didn't want me to be alive because they probably wanted to say that I did it, which naturally I wouldn't. And very likely people discovered that I didn't do it, which means that somebody did it, and that somebody was not me. Well, why is it coming up right now? It seems that a storyline is falling apart. But that's to do with the earthquake? Ooh. Okay, an earthquake that would be, if there would be an earthquake around Urano Beta per se, it means that the properties of those who participated in human trafficking, those who trafficked, are going to be the ones, are going to be the properties that either their properties or their gold or their naturally relationship divorces that I talked about. But there's something with Beta per se that what they thought to gain from that, they will lose in the earthquake. Let's see the chart. Mercury. Now here's, I know what I wanted to talk about. They're going to drill the oil in the Dead Sea, which naturally is going to coincide with the megalithic earthquake. Um, so there can even be a tsunami, but I think it is more about the earthquake. Because to be very honest, I don't think they would invade from Jordan. Jordan is a monarchy and it doesn't want to mess up with its own thing. And so the only thing that can happen on the border with Jordan is an earthquake. To get Jordan to mess its relations with Israel would be beyond difficult. They would have to assassinate the monarchy. And who is now the king of Jordan? So Abdullah II of Jordan. Um, he has Mercury 22 in Aquarius. And ruler of ascendant is Saturn in a night chart. Saturn is at its home sign in Aquarius, 3 degrees. Mercury rules over his 9th house and 6th house. Mercury 22, 9th house and 6th house. Um, to assassinate him is not so, like, it will not be so successful. He could die of poisoning naturally in some eclipse or onset of this Rahu. But with those visible planets, they would have to harm his physical health, which everybody would blame Israel if that happens, or even Qatar. Like this would ruin an oil company if they try to do that. And therefore, I don't think that they are going to assassinate him, which means they wouldn't get to invade this region from Jordan. And to get him to agree to invade Israel, Israel is ascendant at the 10th house, Sol in the 5th house. United States is in his 12th house. With Jupiter in the 2nd. United States probably wants some resources there, which is like everywhere, but um, ruler of Rao in the second being Sol. You know, if they didn't get him to jab himself, they're probably not going to manage to assassinate him. And they might try to convince him to take some this medicine or that, which could be poison. But is probably more acquainted with poison than than they will ever be. um, growing in this region. So I don't think they're going to assassinate King Abdullah. Um, at least not successfully. He does have Rao get a return for the cycle of eclipses as of 2027. Some of it we're going to see in 2026, but the actual Rao Ketu return is going to be in 2027. Then there can be something of disease, hopefully not lethal, to do with poisoning. Again, if you took the jab, that's that might be lethal. Yes, Ketu-san. Ketu in the second house. Let's just put it that way. If it's not an eclipse related death, then probably to get him to die unnaturally would be beyond insanely difficult. This is why my prediction is that that the major event for Israel, albeit what everybody thinks, is going to be also, or even especially, an earthquake. I don't have a plan. I don't know, and I don't think that it will just be okay, like the rest of the Israelis. um, I don't know what to do. Um, but that can be around the Saturn Neptune into Aries. It will sextile Uranus. Uranus is traveling towards Israel's sun. Saturn Neptune is the seventh, so it's bordering in Jordan, which is the Syrian African area. And very likely by 2027 it's going to be that big earthquake. Um, more to say about that. Eighth house is also house of occult and occultism. And Venus sign is relations, also diplomatic relations. Venus in the 10th house with leaders. Oh, for those who are trying to sabotage the relations of people in Israel. Oh, God. Okay. They might not have the prettiest hour, let's just say. Everything they thought to gain from that, they might lose either in that earthquake or It's kind of like when they told people they're going to have a mansion in Gaza, and they and they went full blown, full blown genocide mode, only to find out that there is no mansion in Gaza, and they're probably considered war criminals that did crimes against humanity. So but those that convinced them, that thought to gain something from that, might also experience loss. Now here's the thing with Neptune Aries. Neptune Aries is a confusion around identity. Okay, a person can be so sure that that person did it, but it's actually that person did it. But Neptune reminds us that there is a drug mafia related issue, a loss, miraculous healing as well, channeling divination, the dream state, wave, myth. So, yeah, it's one of those planets that are bigger than the personal planets. This people tapping into a timeline. They try to get information, to maneuver the information, or to maneuver the timeline. Um, and again, they might not all have nefarious means, but those that do begin to understand that, kind of like they ran into a sovereign. And with Aries, that's going to be the thing. Okay, that with Aries, something's going to run into a sovereign. Now, here's the thing: by the time that there is going to be earthquake in Israel, nobody is going to obey the emergency laws. It's going to be one very unique event, because everything that is emergency laws, okay, nobody's going to obey it. After COVID, after 7th October, it's like, if there's like there is a big megalithic earthquake after the attack from Iran, okay, if there's a big megalithic earthquake, people are just not going to obey the emergency laws, and consequently there will be some losses, and yet some of those emergency laws are not correct. Saturn, the tradition, the rules need innovation. Broken rules, okay, breaking the rules, and it's breaking the rules for the new. It's breaking the rules for the new because those rules are not up to speed with the new reality. And it's also trying to instill new laws, but these new laws run into a sovereign. British people saying they will not hold digital ID. The monarchy might be, or the government might be, da 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 da, but then it's like these people are actually protecting from invasion. That would not leave a safe place or bunker for those who plan to escape there when invasion happens.